This looks really spectacular. It looks like I'm at about 26,000 feet. The problem is the cloud is only 500 foot above the top of the hill. So it just gives the illusion of being mega high. But I was only at 4,000, I wasn't near the altitude limit. So I was up there for quite a bit. Some of the hang gliders got up a bit and went back down again, and then this lone paraglider got up, and I went sort of wound down to fly with him, and he was sort of on the limit of his penetration on the front edge of the cloud, and eventually, after he got up a bit more, he had to have a glide over the back, basically. So he would be better further forwards. This is the rising bit here, and he's already getting a bit back, and it's very shallow, that cloud. Sometimes it's a lot steeper. And I actually followed him over the back to see if he was, what happened to him, because I came down near him, took photographs, and then climbed back up away from him. At that point he got blown over the back and turned, and he didn't actually quite clear the cloud. He went into the tail end of it, but he didn't get harmed, unfortunately, because it could curl under at that point if he was unlucky and be really turbulent on the back edge, but it wasn't. So he found a sort of tunnel to fly down at the back as well, because if he'd just gone straight, he would have gone 500 feet into it. So yeah, he ran out of penetration and didn't get as high as me, not because his sink rate wasn't as good, but because he was having to fly fast to stay in position. This is going back to an earlier, a few years earlier, we had this wonderful day when everyone was in it. But again, the paragliders are getting blown back over the top of the cloud, and a lot of them sort of got back here and turned and went. But whereas it was really easy to cruise around on the front. See how far back they are? This is where I'm where the lift was strongest. But they're too far back. They need to be further forward, so they're on the edge of having to go over the back. Whereas I could fly around on the front. I think that was that day that we flew over to Chatham. Those earlier days with a lot less cloud. So there's 2 days in this slideshow. This was just a beautiful, beautiful day from the point of view of the scenery, exaggerated by the cloud base being so low. And when I took off, I had to wait for the cloud to clear from the launch. So, without getting blown over the back, you don't want to stick pointing into wind trying to go fast and going down fast. There you might fall into the arch of the wave. Under the arch of the wave, you've got that dead zone, so where there might be a bolster rotor, there might be a roll cloud underneath. Nasty things could be happening, particularly if you. All those things increase with the square of the wind velocity. The energy in the system is the square of. So, if you're on the limit of your speed, it's going to be more violent. If you're not on the limit of your speed, it'll probably be quite benign. But it gets rapidly worse as the wind speed goes up.
So you're saying once you get on the flat
If you're
of the top, you take a run.
yeah, your best bet is to turn and go. Not fall go down into the middle of the wave, into the middle of
Would you with an angle be able to go through?
well, if I'm making progress, you can tell if you're making progress, but if you're not making progress, I'd turn and go. If you're getting blown over the top of the wave, best to go.
Good, they say that you get roughed up at altitude in those conditions then.
If you can get, it's nothing to do with the altitude, it's to do with how far up the wave you are.
Isn't it? Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Right?
Yeah.
Is if you're at the top of the wave, then if we go back to that diagram, this is all my theory, may or may not be right. If sort of here, if you're here where at the top of the wave, where you've just gone up here and it's just gone, without having to pull on a lot, it's just stopped climbing. then I'm saying it's pretty benign to fly straight downwind. If you're here and you've run out of speed and you've stopped climbing because you're going so fast, because you're pulling 5 down or whatever sink rate, to go that fast, just not get blown backwards, then in turn you'll go through here where the angles are still quite steep. The angles are shallowing off as you go here.
Yeah, what I'm saying is I think for us paragliders, we nearly always have that second scenario that you're talking about.
But it's a matter of degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I haven't ever, I mean, people said, cool, you could get into turbulence, but I, so far, haven't experienced, when we're high, anything more than just big sink.
Yeah.
You get the big sink, but you don't get the rough, it's not rough.
No, well, it's under the arch here where it might be bad.
Okay.
So if you're far enough up to be where it's relatively shallow, the fact that you've run out of climb to stay put. I mean, how bad does your glide angle get? Because mine can get very bad if I go very fast.
Yeah, well,
But
ours is
you
most,
don't go that fast.
you
probably don't
can't go
that
fast, but we're just stuck with the,
Yeah, you basically full speed bar on your glide angle is 8 to 1 when it goes 7 to 1. Yeah.
which when you're going, when you're not going forward at all, it's just.
If I was having trouble penetrating in wave because I was flat out, I'd be doing 4 to 1, something like that, at 120 knots an hour, and that would be so scary. Now, to be in that situation of 2,000 foot above the hill, knowing that there's all that energy, because the energy in the system is a square law. This is why we can't fly, even though our gliders, since the early 90s, have gone twice as fast. The upper wind limit we can fly in hasn't gone up, unless we're at the coast or somewhere. The mechanical turbulence that we've got to land in means that it's not safe to fly in 45 miles an hour.
We
We will take off in gusting 35 in a lull, but we will not fly any more than that because the mechanical turbulence is too much to land on that, because that goes up with the square and it's pretty hard and fast. At 30 miles an hour you can handle, 40 you're definitely dicing with death. No, it really goes up exponentially the amount of turbulence that you've got to deal with.
On the coast, it's very similar to that. You've got, when the wind picks up, you've got a very pronounced vertical aspect. So you can penetrate okay. The temptation is to just sit in that.
Yeah.
But when you realise it's too strong, you've then got to ride it right over the top of the wave.
Oh, just
Because if you
Richmond.
turn too early, you're going right through
It
the
is
shit
just
in the
like
middle.
it is just like Richmond.
Yeah.
Good, could you speak a bit more about, especially for us paragliding, but it probably applies to all of us, that we often find ourselves a little bit stuck and want to know how best to come down in an area that's clean air, to landing, especially the landing phase, to be able to be landing in an ideal place relative to the wave. Could you sort of talk us through maybe
Yeah, well,
some scenarios?
Basically, I've never really found it bad going downwind. So you go downwind and you don't connect with the wave, or the wave has just shallowed off, so there isn't the next wave. But you're away from the strong sink, you've carried on through the strong sink, the strong sink has stopped, but you don't get another climb. It's all right to land there, basically. Now, if you are still where the strong sink is, you might encounter a Venturi effect of strong wind, or relatively strong wind. So you'll get bands of strong wind and weak wind, strong wind and weak wind going downwind. But if the lift is dropping off, so you can't climb anymore, then the amount of that will drop off. But if you say, oh well, I'll go and land, if you've got a brilliant wave on Lord Seat, and then you say, oh, I'll go and land in Outer Farm, that might not be the place. You know, it might be hammering down there. And if you're sort of, well, I'll just nip over the back to land not too far from the car, oh, there's lots of 7 down here, you know, that's probably not where you want to be landing, because that air's going to squash against the ground. for that seat. And you're just gonna get, if it doesn't, in the extreme case, of course, it could be doing this in here and filling in because the air's not really doing anything. You can get a reverse flow here. Sometimes it does that at the bottom of the roller. That's when it's really horrible. Because you get gusts in the opposite direction at the bottom of the roller. And you can see the smoke through a circle sometimes. So, yeah, you get that light and variable, nasty, strong and variable maybe, and then you get the compression here. But if you can't climb and you go down, usually it's alright. Behind Lord Sea, there's plenty of very benign flat areas, and you've got to bear in mind that it might be unexpectedly strong, so pick a big field, don't land behind a row of trees, all that sort of thing. You know, just be extra cautious, even if it doesn't seem very windy, that it might actually be windy when you get down. That flight that I did with Alexia, I was all set up to land. We were flying around, we had quite a lot of height, we were near the main road past the anchor. And I was flying up and down thinking, well, which pubs are you going to go for? Are we going to the Three Stags, or are we going to the anchor? And he just landed in the middle of this area of fields, equidistant from everywhere and in the middle of nowhere. And I was thinking, what's he done that for? And I went and landed by the road. And he was like, what's he done that for? No, it was 3 fields in from where the roads were, in every direction. And he said, I wanted to, it was sort of on top of a hill that he landed, and his explanation was that it would have been all right whichever way the wind was blowing, because he thought it might come in any direction. And in fact, one of the reasons we didn't get the second climb is just there, it was west. You know, it was, because I remember leaving home thinking, oh, it's west. And it's going to be too west for North Sea, and on the North Sea, it was north. But there was a local westerly there that was probably why we didn't get another climb.